US President Donald Trump and other world leaders have arrived in Canada for the G7 summit, where the intensifying Iran-Israel conflict is expected to top the agenda. On the sidelines of the summit, Canadian Prime Minister also met British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, and the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. With Starmer, Carney is said to have discussed the tensions in West Asia and their support for Ukraine. They also announced further collaboration on trade and technology. They also agreed to strengthen defense cooperation. Ramaphosa and Carney are said to have agreed to enhance economic cooperation between the two states, with Australian Prime Minister Albanese furthering partnerships on critical minerals was discussed. Both leaders vowed to deepen their bilateral relationship. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will meet US President Donald Trump for the first time in Calgary. On the sidelines of the G7 summit, talks are expected to focus on tariffs and the US snap review of the AUKUS nuclear submarine deal with Australia. Now we have guest Ambassador Ashok Sajan. He's a former Indian diplomat. He's joining us live. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to NewsX World. How significant is that the Iran-Israel conflict has emerged as the top agenda item at the G7 summit now?
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Yeah, this is the latest in terms of the uncertainties that has emerged on the global scene. Over the last 3, 4, 5 years, of course, it started with COVID-19 pandemic, then we have the Russia-Ukraine conflict, then we have the Israel-Hamas, and now Israel-Iran war. So that is the latest, and I'm sure that is going to be the top of the agenda as far as G7 talks are concerned, and even the interaction of G7 countries with the other outreach countries, in which the Indian Prime Minister will also be reaching there, Canada, today. So that is something that is very important both for peace, security and stability, but also for global economic growth, because as we have seen, the prices of energy have been rising over the last 3 days. And the worst to be affected are the developing countries, and India would project the sentiments and the concerns, anxieties of the global south. So this is definitely an issue that will be on the top of the agenda, both for its political as well as economic ramifications.
And how might President Trump's presence and posture at the summit signal about US intentions with the West Asia crisis?
Yeah, I think President Trump has been quite vocal and clear. He has lent full support to Israel, but you know, there needs to be an end to the war. He's also threatened Iran that if any of the American personnel who are based, about 60,000 of the US soldiers who are based in that region, if they get attacked, if they are their security in any way is compromised, then Iran will have a heavy price to pay. So at least for now, the war is limited between Israel and Iran. But President Trump could impress upon Israel to stop after much damage has been, significant damage has been done on the Iranian nuclear ambitions and nuclear enrichment plants and missile production units. After much of that is done, President Trump could impress upon Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, to stop it so that some sort of negotiated settlement on the nuclear ambitions of Iran in terms of how it can use the nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, that can be arrived at.
And now shifting focus to Canada and UK economic ties. Now that What does strategic value does new UK-Canada Economic and Trade Working Group hold? And from what we know that they held talks today in the sidelines of the G7 summit.
Yeah, trade and tariffs are a very important issue for not only Canada and the United Kingdom, but for a large number of countries because of the uncertainties that have been introduced by President Trump's trade policies and tariff threats. And we see that they have been paused till the 9th of July. But 9th of July is just around the corner. So I think definitely countries will be speaking about that. And these countries have also suffered as a result of the Russia-Ukraine, to the fact that the United Kingdom has not been able to take cheap energy, oil and gas from Russia for the last three and a half years. So that has impacted adversely on its economic strength. And so all these countries in Europe, including the UK, France, Germany, they are facing the impact of that. And Canada also, because it has been faced with tariffs from the United States. So that is an issue that both these countries will work together. And of course, also in terms of support that they have to provide to Ukraine. And that is a continuing feature. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has taken a leadership role as far as the assistance and support to Ukraine after what President Trump has said. He is not fully engaged, he's not fully invested in that. So that is also an important issue that will be discussed at the G7 and also between Canada and the United Kingdom and some of the other countries.
Now I want to include India to this light. How might India view the G7 stance on the Middle East, given its own relationship with both Israel and Iran, and increasingly a good relationship that we just saw recently with Prime Minister Modi visiting Saudi Arabia?
Yes, India has excellent relations with all the countries in the region, and India has its own stance. Your viewers and listeners would recall that India did not join the SCO consensus in which they had condemned Israel for these attacks. Basically, we want the approach to be of dialogue and diplomacy so that there are negotiations that are held and peace is restored. By condemning or criticizing just one party, it doesn't help matters at all. This is the same stance we had taken as far as the Russia-Ukraine conflict is concerned. And so we would promote dialogue and diplomacy, and so that many of these countries, they were erstwhile signatories also to the JCPOA, whether it is UK, France, Germany, and the United States. Of course, these are all, they had signed the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So we would impress upon them that this war needs to come to an end as quickly as possible, because in addition to the risk and the threat and danger of it expanding and involving other countries of the region, the impact it is having, particularly on developing countries, is very debilitating. And so this war really needs to be ended as quickly as possible.
And now, building on your answer, should India interpret these new defense alignments, especially UK, Australia, EU, as exclusionary or complementary to India's stance?
I think all these stands are complementary to each other. India is on the same wavelength. We are on the same footing, same plane as these countries, because they would also want, none of them wants that we should have a nuclear Iran. No one wants, nuclear weapon equipped Iran. All countries want that there should be, if Iran is pursuing peaceful use of nuclear energy, that under the NPT, it is a signatory of NPT, So it should be permitted to do that, of course, under checks and observation monitoring of the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. But otherwise, war is not a way to go forward. And developing nuclear weapons is also not going to promote security and stability in the region. So we need security and stability in the region. We need to ensure that Iran does not go the nuclear weapons way, and we need the war to stop as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, for joining us and bringing your expertise to our conversation.